It's been 17 days since 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in a home near campus. Police still don't have a suspect or suspects or a murder weapon. Investigators say the victims, 20-year-old Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonsalves, were all likely asleep when they were attacked. They say some had defensive wounds. Now that students and staff are back from Thanksgiving break, the university is holding a vigil for the victims tomorrow night on campus. We sent our 10 p.m. anchors Morgan Romero and Brian Holmes up to Moscow for that. And Morgan and Brian, you guys have been all over Moscow talking to people and getting new information today.
That's right, Doug. We have, and to that vigil, it's going to be held here at the Kibbie Dome behind me tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 6 p.m. Mountain. They wanted to hold it inside. It was originally planned outside, but because of that weather that Rick talked about throughout the state, really strong winds here in Moscow, they're moving that vigil inside. They wanted to wait until after Thanksgiving break, too, to hold this vigil so more students and staff could come and honor Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie.
And speaking of students, I spoke with the dean of students today, and he couldn't give me a real number on how many students actually returned from Thanksgiving break because a lot of them went home early. But he does know, he says anecdotally, it seems like a vast majority did return, and those that chose not to, well, they can finish out the semester online.
And it's interesting being here, too, because it's so cold and there's so much snow and ice. We haven't seen a lot of students walking around, so it's really giving the town of Moscow a busy college town normally this time of year. It's giving it a very eerie feel.
Yeah, and more cops and police officers than we've seen ever. I mean, ISP doesn't usually hang out in Moscow.
Exactly.
And we've seen a lot of those just today.
Exactly. And Moscow Police, Idaho State Police, the FBI haven't really been giving a lot of major updates on this case in about more than a week, but they have been sending out press releases and updating their Facebook page over the past week about every day. I asked Idaho State Police Communications Director Aaron Snell if he thinks they're going to catch the people or person responsible for these stabbing deaths. He says, quote, they are making substantial progress in this case as they continue to go through evidence and continue to process leads. He says so far they've received more than 1,000 tips and more than 260 videos have been submitted. Flowers, photos, and candles outside 1122 King Road serve as a tribute and a dark reminder of what happened to 4 beautiful young souls inside 1122 King Road.
We are vandals, so we are with the Vandal family. We understand all of the unrest, and we understand all of the frustration and the pain and the hurt.
Renee Weiss and her family.
This is home.
Live directly across from 1122 King Road, where Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves were murdered early on November 13th.
I was home apparently during the situation, but I didn't hear anything.
Renee gave law enforcement all the information she could.
I was actually breastfeeding, but it was quiet, and I was exhausted, so I could have very easily missed something.
Although police still haven't caught whoever did this, she feels safe.
When all of this happened, we were one of the very few families that stayed.
As she takes extra precautions, like locking her doors now, and sees law enforcement posted up at the home.
Like, yes, that sense of security may not be there, but I don't have to be like, oh, we have to move tomorrow.
Out her front door on Tuesday, tow trucks hauled away 5 cars still parked in the crime scene and brought them to long-term storage. At this point,
most of our evidence collection has been completed. As we find other tips or leads that lead us in a different direction, we will collect more evidence. If there's something to collect, we most definitely will collect that. A perfect example is the 5 vehicles, right? We're moving them to another location. If there's any evidence we want or need from those, then that's where we'll grab it from there.
Idaho State Police Communications Director Aaron Snell says detectives are now analyzing the processed evidence and piecing together information to paint a clearer picture of what happened. We know Kaylee and Madison were together at the Corner Club on Main Street in downtown Moscow, then went to a food truck. They got home around 1:56 a.m. Xana and Ethan were at the Sigma Chi house down the street from the home on King Road. Investigators say they got home around 1:45.
There are some gaps in the timeline and the coverage. If anybody has information about that, we would like to know.
Detectives believe the 2 surviving roommates were out that night and got home around 1 a.m. In the late morning on the 13th, they asked friends to come over because they believed one of the second-floor victims passed out. Friends called 911 about an unconscious person from one of the roommates' phones around noon. When police got there, they found 2 victims stabbed to death multiple times on the 2nd floor and 2 on the 3rd. Snell won't say yet who was found on what floor or where they were found exactly.
We know that there's probably some students that may have been involved in activities that maybe their parents wouldn't be super excited about them being involved in. We're not looking to prosecute and to go after kids for activities that they were doing. We really want those videos and those pictures. We are making substantial progress in this case. We are continuing to move forward. We have so many assets and resources that are working behind the scenes that people just don't know about.
Police are challenged, trying to debunk all the misinformation spreading.
This is a criminal investigation, and so we can't throw all of our cards on the table and tell everybody everything that we have. And so it does cause for some conflict and some anger and some disillusionment about, are we actually working the case? A lot of speculation comes up when in the void of information being provided.
Speculation, Renee feels, stokes more fear and does a disservice to the victims, their families, and the community of Moscow.
Reminding people that this isn't a rumor mill. This isn't some episode of a criminal show that, is going to be over in an hour. There's a lot of evidence still being processed. There's a lot of tips that are still coming in. Detectives also want any and all surveillance video from between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. on November 13th from any of the areas where the victims were, any homes or businesses where they traveled that night. Aaron Snell also says that the FBI has their behavioral analysis units working on this case, helping detectives solve this crime. I asked if they're going to release a profile of the suspect. He said right now they're not going to do that because it's really pertinent to the investigation. Meantime, other University of Idaho campuses are going to be holding vigils as well. For example, the University of Idaho Boise campus will have their vigil tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and that's going to be at the University of Idaho Water Center on Front Street.
That's not the only university across the state that's going to be
Right.
taking part in this vigil. Other universities and colleges around the state, sometime between 3 and 6, will be turning on their stadium lights, as well as school districts like West Ada, for example, will be doing the same thing. Some of those hours will vary, but for the most part, we've been hearing between the hours of 3 and 6 tomorrow, Mountain Standard Time, when these lights in the stadiums will be turned on for them.
And some people encouraging their students and staff as well to wear black and gold tomorrow, too. And some are having vigils in person as well.